those have all come through some legal mechanism. When we're on private land, we don't have that legal mechanism. They can make any conditions they want because that's just part of the kind of terms of use of what makes it trespass, what allows you to be on there. When public land is within this legal framework, there are some limitations on what they can and can't do. So you've got things like human rights that they have to take into account. And every decision they make has to be balancing all of our kind of interest in human rights and kind of freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, versus the public benefit that they seek from getting rid of that. So when we privatise it, that's not present. And they're not limited by that, so they can make any kind of rules that they want. Yeah. So the second issue, as well as being governed by law, this makes it part of the democratically accountable state. When law is made by Parliament, we've got MPs, we can write to our constituents, we can petition, we can protest. When we have it made by local councils for bylaws, again, they're councillors, they want to be re-elected. They have a democratic interest there that holds them to account. They're also there to represent us and to put forward some sort of public good. We might not agree with the public good that they go for. That's an issue we have. But at least they're there for that. Instead, when we come to a private space, and what better example? It's owned by an investment company. They hold this space because they want to make money. What makes money here? Well, they want a space for restaurants, for offices. They allow us to be on here as long as it fits in with that. But the bottom line is still, they're there to make money, and that's what they're accountable to. And moving on to the third issue, which is the legal accountability. So when I'm out on public space, when we're all out on public space, like I say, anything that's done to us has to be done under some sort of law. So if a policeman says, if I'm out doing parkour, and a policeman says, can you get off that wall, please? I can sit down and say, well, under what power, under what law? And if I'm going to be annoying, I can bring out the law. It never helps, but I can always resort to it. Normally I use that as a delaying tactic just to make it difficult, because they're never going to change their mind. But I can question, I can say, under what law, what power? And if they try to find me, if eventually something happens, if you have a protest that you get arrested for, you can get to magistrate's court and you can run a defence, and you can say, well, what they did wasn't lawful. And you have all this whole defence there of whether it was lawful, whether it's in breach of human rights, whether they're abusing their power. On private land, you haven't got this defence. There's no legal accountability. If security say, can you leave please, you're not allowed to take photos, you can say, what do you mean I'm not allowed to? And there's not really anything there. They can just say, we don't want you to, and therefore, because it's our land, we're asking you to leave. And they're right. But there's also just not much there. It's a bit weird. At the same time, kind of more useful than getting yourself fined before you have to run a defence, we have judicial review, which is where you can find any state action, whether it's by police, by council. You can go to court and you can say this is in breach of the law somewhere. And normally we have this as a human rights action. We can say it's a disproportionate interference with our human rights, and we can challenge it that way. It might be it's an abuse of power. It might be that they've got a power that they have for one purpose, that they're using it for a different thing. Maybe they're trying to keep homeless people off the street to be good for business, and they're not meant to be good for business under that law. That sort of challenge. And again, the common theme here, on private land, that's just not available. If they make a new policy that says no one is allowed in the Agora at weekends when there's no event, there's no good reason for it, but it's within their power to do that. And you can't legally challenge that. What you can do is turn up with 100 people and walk into it, and then that's great. And that's what we've done here, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got private land as the opposite. It's not governed by law, it's whatever rules they make. It's not democratically accountable, it's just whatever rules the private management want that's in their interest. And there's no legal accountability. On that point, there's also this creep that happens, where a kind of function creep, that the law might mean one thing, but they can interpret it a bit more and feel like they're pushing you more and more with how they take it. There's not much you can do about that. So why does this matter? There's loads of reasons why it matters. I'll stick to a legal one. So our civil liberties, the things that we have as citizens against the state, we move on to private land, they don't exist. You can't exercise a civil liberty against private management. They don't have to respect it. They don't have to respect your human rights. So when I'm doing parkour, that matters, because I can do parkour on public space without being told to leave. On private space, I can be told to leave. I use parkour as an example because it's not yet like skateboarding and busking and rough sleeping. It's not yet been criminalised under bylaws or public space protection orders. For now. I have no doubt that will change. don't give them ideas. But more important than parkour, it's important for me but not for the rest of you, is protests. When we want to protest, it's so much harder to protest on private land. They can just get an injunction against you. They don't need to take into account human rights. They don't need a particular legal power to do that. They can just stop you, which is why, as we heard earlier, Occupy London got moved off Paternoster Square. And in 2014 we had the Black Lives Matter protest, went to the Westfield Shopping Centre in Shepherd's Bush, which you want to go to, right? You want your protest, your campaign to be somewhere in public. You want to reach people. But it's a private centre, and they got told to leave, and 90 people got arrested. Protest gets shut down. And as more and more of the city becomes privatised, where can you protest? And that's just another angle of the issue. We want public space to have our public community life, but also for that democratic protest, just where can you go with it? So that's it from me. The one-line conclusion is, when we prioritise public space, we take it outside that democratic legal framework of the state. It's not protected by law, it's not part of democracy, and it ceases really to be public space in any form apart from how they want to market it. So thanks for listening, hopefully that was useful. I'm Alex May, alexmay.co.uk is my website. No one will have heard that before, so I thought I'd give it a plug. I don't know who's introducing whoever's next, but on you come. Thanks very much.